So, Brian, let's have it the real stuff. March is all about one thing only. What is it?
The NCAA tournament, AJ. You're so excited about it.
I'm so excited because me and my brother-in-law, we do it every year. He has a nice 5 TV setup in his basement, and he has Spotted Cow on tap in his bar. So we always just get together.
You are a true Wisconsinite.
Wisconsin. I never even lived there either. I just fell in love with it right when I went to visit Milwaukee one time in college. But anyway, so we're going to be watching the games, and I hope everyone else will be watching the games because it's been a 1-year hiatus due to COVID-19 in 2020. So, Brian, what are your Final Four predictions and ultimately the champion?
All right, so my Final Four, I got 2 1 seeds and 2 3 seeds. So it's half chalk and half semi-chalk. No crazy, high seeds making deep runs for me this year. But my Final Four is going to be Gonzaga, Illinois, Texas, and Arkansas. So that would obviously be Gonzaga playing Texas in the Final Four, Illinois playing Arkansas in the Final Four. I have Illinois and Texas making the championship, ultimately with the Texas Longhorns being my national champion.
Oh my.
I do. I really like this Texas team, AJ. I'm not going to lie. I've been on this Texas team since probably the beginning of January when they started to get healthy. And I think I was watching a game when they beat Kansas, and I was just like, this Texas team is complete, to say the least. They defend well. They have guys who can get you clutch baskets as times, getting deep into the second half. They make their free throws. They create turnovers. They basically have everything that you look for in terms of like a checklist on paper for a deep run tournament team. And then I add in the fact that Shaka Smart's their head coach, who's taken a team to a Final Four before. And it makes sense for me that the Texas Longhorns are going to make a deep run, and I'm going to go ahead and just ride them all the way to a national championship.
Man, homie, your picks are really not that much different than mine. So here are my 4 picks. I got Gonzaga, Baylor, Texas, and then Houston. So I like your pick on Texas.
Deep in the heart of Texas there for you, AJ. 3 teams from the state of Texas.
I did not notice that till now.
Hey, they're good, so it's not even like it's an anomaly. Those are 3 talented basketball teams.
Right. And before I jump into Texas again, my championship team will be, let's see what we got here. I got Gonzaga beating Houston 90-74.
Nice little blue blood Power 5 conference national championship. I think college basketball could use something like that. I like that.
Yeah, I'm just going my gut, man. But back to Texas, I did pick Texas over Michigan because I just don't. Michigan's gonna get far, but I just don't see. I don't know. I feel like they've been coming up short real recently, and Texas is just hot. They came out from a Big 12 title game, and as I mentioned, Michigan's at that slump. And not to mention, Michigan's missed one of their top starters, Isaiah Livers. So we'll see how that turns out.
It's a huge loss for them. Texas hasn't lost since February 27th. So, like, they're riding high. In terms of, like, their losses are primarily in the Big 12. So, like, they played very well outside of their conference, which is huge. Obviously, that's what you want to look at when you're kind of gauging a team that's ready for the tournament. Like, they've beaten Oklahoma State, who's a 5 seed this year. They won at Kansas by 25 points, which I know Kansas had an up and down year, but very few teams have the talent to go into Kansas and win, let alone win by 25.
Yeah.
They've won at West Virginia, which is an extremely difficult place to play. I just think Texas has moxie this year. They have a lot of size. And they got to guard Matt Coleman, who can just he's like Chris Paul in a lot of ways. He dishes the rock very nicely, doesn't turn the ball over, and he can score when you need him to.
I like Chris Paul too. Just speaking of Oklahoma State, I did put him in the mix potentially because Cade Cunningham could be the top 5 overall pick, no doubt.
Honestly, might be the first overall pick. Cade Cunningham is a stud.
I do like him. He's a machine. Because I don't put them at Oklahoma State as my Final Four because college basketball is a little different than NBA. NBA, if you have one all-star or like a really, like a generational talent, you can get far.
Yeah.
But college basketball, it's very team dominant.
Yeah, college basketball, it's there are certain teams in college basketball that are trying to mold towards that NBA model, but predominantly it's team basketball. It's controlling pace, and that's usually who you see in the Final Four on the final weekend of the NCAA tournament. Is those teams who can control pace, who can rebound soundly, and who don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I agree. And also, defense is real heavy in college basketball, which is why I put Houston as my Final Four, because they're just defensive powerhouse team.
They really are.
Sure, the competition may not be as fierce compared to the other three in the Final Four, but the consistency is important. Illinois was a good pick, in my opinion, for the Midwest, but I just seen too many close games, especially against Wisco. I mean, Wisco has kind of been a disappointment, in my opinion. They haven't really solidified a really strong resume in terms of their wins. I mean, they can't beat Iowa or any of these big powerhouse teams like Michigan. So yeah, that's why I put Houston as in my mix.
No, I like Houston. I have Illinois beating Houston in my Elite Eight, so it's not like I like both teams, and it's a matchup that if it gets to that Elite Eight with that matchup, it's gonna be a slugfest game. There's Illinois. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on them. I'm from Illinois. I'm from Chicago, but I'm certainly no Illini fan by any means. But I mean, I watched that team, and like Ayo Dosunmu is an absolute stud. Kofi Coburn down low is a truck. Yeah. Like Illinois is good because Ayo Dosunmu is probably the Naismith Player of the Year this year, and then if you take him away, it's like you said with Cade Cunningham, it's team dominant. So you take Cade Cunningham away, and Oklahoma State's likely to struggle. You take Ayo away from Illinois, and they can still hum because they still have so much talent around him. That they're also very well coached. And Brad Underwood, who has tournament pedigree himself, when he was at Stephen F. Austin, they made a couple upsets during his tenure there. So like Illinois has a lot of the pieces you're looking for. They are streaky, like you said. They do play to a lot of close games, especially when they don't need to. I think a good example of that is the tournament, the Big Ten final, where they probably should have put Illinois away with about 5 minutes left in the second half, and it ended up going to overtime.
Oh, I mean Ohio State.
Ohio State,
yeah. I did watch that one.
So Illinois is certainly not a perfect team. I think Gonzaga in a lot of ways is a perfect team. They're perfectly built for a national championship run. But then again, it is Gonzaga, and we have seen time and time again, they get a 1 seed and they end up fizzling out in the Sweet 16. So that's certainly a possibility too.
Yeah, Gonzaga is the best team in college basketball, plain and simple. You can't overthink it.
They are. It's not close.
They're probably going to have an undefeated season for the first time since I think the 1975-76 Indiana Hoosiers.
Sounds right.
Yeah, their path is pretty easy too, in my opinion. But there's only one team I would be concerned about. And it's Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, that's a program that even in down years, or mediocre years, I guess Kansas never really has a down year. They're always dangerous when it comes to March.
You have to remember, Kansas kind of had a down year this year because that's when he canceled games due to COVID. Mm-hmm. And did you know that Bill Self, since going to Kansas, he's been to 17 tournament appearances, and 10 of the 17 he's gone to the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good resume.
That's an incredible resume, and they have a national championship, obviously. The infamous Mario Chalmers year against Derrick Rose's Memphis team. But Bill Self in the tournament is someone you don't write off. I saw some people having them, being second round exits or whatnot, and I have them facing off against Iowa in the Sweet 16. I think that's going to be an extremely high scoring affair.
Oh, yeah.
I have Iowa narrowly winning that game in my bracket. But again, it's just like we said with Illinois and Houston. If it gets to that, it's going to be anyone's game, because I think both teams are capable of putting on a show and advancing.
Did you have Kansas beating Iowa?
No, I have Iowa beating Kansas.
Okay.
Same reason why I like a team like Texas is because when you get to a point in the game where you need a bucket or you need to rely on one guy, way Texas can rely on Coleman, Iowa can go ahead and rely on Luka Garza. And I think in the NCAA tournament, when you have 3 minutes on the clock and it's a 2-point game, you need that guy, and Iowa has that guy in that moment. But if Iowa and Kansas play, it's going to be a one possession game. it's going to be probably one of the better games of the tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I did have Kansas beating Iowa. It was a real tough call, honestly. Like,
Yeah, it's a coin flip.
right. I kind of went my gut because Brian, you may know I went to Iowa State, so I just grew up hating Iowa. So I just
That's
like I'll
understandable.
go with my heart. I'll go with my gut. I like Luka Garza. He's definitely a powerhouse player. Probably the best player. He probably win AP Player of the Year. I think he already. No, he didn't win.
No, he hasn't won yet.
Not his one yet.
He's in the final. He's one of the finalists for it though.
I think he'll win it. He's just put on a show. We'll just see what happens. But kind of transition to Baylor. You didn't put Baylor in your Final Four, did you?
I did not.
How
I have
come?
Baylor in my Elite Eight. I do have Baylor in my Elite Eight. But I don't like how Baylor finished the season. Baylor finished the season kind of sputtering. Lost to Oklahoma State in the Big Ten tournament. I believe they had a loss the last week of the regular season too. Or sorry, Big 12 tournament, not Big Ten tournament. They lost to Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament. They lost by double digits. The game before in the Big 12 tournament, they played a Kansas State team who earlier lost to a team that was like Prairie View A&T or something like that. And they lost at Kansas State, but now Baylor only beats them by 4 points at home. Baylor, the last kind of 2 weeks of the season has been just so inconsistent, beating teams that they should beat by double digits by one basket, giving up 90 points to West Virginia. They lost to Oklahoma State. They lost to Kansas. I don't know if I like the way Baylor's trending right now. Obviously, they're going to win their first weekend. If they do, they got North Carolina and Wisconsin, the winner of that coming next. I don't think Carolina and Wisconsin this year have the firepower to beat Baylor. If they do that, then I'm pretty sure they get either a Purdue or a Villanova team, both of which who are good, but Villanova's without their best player, Connor Gillespie.
Oh, shit. I did not know that.
Torn MCL. He's going to miss the tournament.
Oh, shoot.
And then Purdue's big, but Purdue sometimes goes through these stretches where they go like 6 minutes without making a basket. So like I think Baylor's road to the Elite Eight is really good. But then if they get to the Elite Eight and they got to play, in my opinion, I think it's going to be Arkansas. A lot of people think it'll be Ohio State. West Virginia's also there. I think that's where, or not West Virginia, whoever the 3 seed is in that, region.
The South?
Yeah.
The 3 seed is Arkansas.
It's Arkansas. And who's the 6th seed in that region?
Oh, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. So another Big 12 team. Texas Tech, obviously, the last time we played an NCAA tournament, Texas Tech was in the national championship. Texas Tech's still a talented team. I think the bottom half of that region is where Baylor gets some trouble. And I think that Arkansas, just with their style of play and pace of play, can give Baylor some trouble. And I think that's where they slip up at.
Yeah, that's some pretty good thoughts. Just to kind of pay homage to Brian's school, Mizzou's playing Oklahoma, and Mizzou is 9, Oklahoma's 8. What was your pick on that?
Obviously, Mizzou, and it was Mizzou beforehand, just because I'm not going to pick against my team, and I believe Oklahoma was slightly favored, but since the bracket came out, Oklahoma's, I think it's their second plus player, a guy named Davion Harmon. Davion Harmon's going to miss the game because of COVID. So Oklahoma's streaky team in their own right. Mizzou, don't get me wrong, Mizzou is not a great basketball team. I have them winning against Oklahoma, but then I have them losing by at least 35 points to Gonzaga in the next round.
I did put Mizzou to win that matchup.
AJ, if Iowa State was in the tournament, I would have put them too. So,
you know how many wins Iowa State has?
7. How bad were you guys this year?
Try again. One more guess.
Higher or lower?
Lower.
Really? 5?
2.
You guys won 2 games this year?
2 games. No conference wins. They did fire the head coach.
Steve Prohm got fired, didn't he?
He got fired. Do
you want Fred Hoiberg back? He's going to have to get fired by Nebraska.
I don't know, man. I don't want to rekindle the past that much.
Yeah,
but
I hear that.
Apparently, the old Iowa State assistant is going to be the head coach.
Okay.
Matt Thomas, who I actually had a class with him once.
Nice
guy. he was just saying hyping him up, and he's an NBA player. He's worked with him, so he's been getting some good props. So hopefully he can help turn that program around.
Absolutely.
I'm expecting 3 wins this year.
All right. Hey, that's an improvement over 2. Baby steps, right?
Baby steps. It's all about progression, just like the Bulls. They have a
Mhm.
progression. So Brian, we will probably have to meet up again on March Madness, maybe before or after the